That's right, Gary. In Paris, a mix of emotions there. Grief, disbelief, tension, and also resolve, resiliency, just after a brutal terrorist attack strikes the heart of that city and the heart of the free press. Now in Boston, thousands of people still shaking off the memories of a recent terror attack of their own are voicing their support, coming forward, standing together in solidarity with the people of Paris. This is starting to become a custom now here in the U.S. Whenever an attack like this happens, security analysts and experts start to predict whether or not U.S. citizens should also fear an attack on American soil. A lot of that conversation starts and ends with just who these killers really were. Former Boston Police Commissioner Ed Davis says the terrorists in Paris used military tactics and showed advanced training. In some of the videos appearing online, he says it appears as though they may have military experience, but if reports are true that they left behind their ID badges in the getaway car, that would be more of an amateur mistake, not the sign of a professional soldier. What does that mean for us here? Well, it's still unknown. Government officials consider it a big difference for threat levels and national security if a threat was a lone wolf move, a few guys getting together and acting on their own, or if it was an organized military operation, and that would dictate the next step as far as threat levels and how our officials would respond here in the area. Moving on now, only a very select few of these went out. Official invitations to Inauguration Day on Beacon Hill as Republican Governor-elect Charlie Baker steps in after 8 years of Governor Deval Patrick. Charlie Baker can officially drop the elect from his title. He's now just the governor. Wednesday afternoon, Governor Patrick said his final goodbyes and took that lone walk, the tradition, down the State House steps. He stopped along the way and said goodbye to so many other lawmakers he's worked with over the last 8 years. Some of the other officials also leaving office with him, Attorney General Martha Coakley, Treasurer Steve Grossman. Those two positions will have to be filled in Baker's new administration. Before Patrick left office, he sat down with Charlie Baker and exchanged this wooden gavel built from the USS Constitution, a symbolic key to the office, some old Massachusetts state law books, and a Bible from the 1800s. Joining Baker in the State House, Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito. Baker beat out challenging Democrat Martha Coakley in November's election. Thursday morning, Governor Baker met with state lawmakers at a reception at Suffolk University Law School before marching up Beacon Hill, where he was welcomed by a 19-gun salute and his official inauguration. Now, former Governor Patrick still has several unsigned bills on his desk as he starts cleaning out his office. Now, what to do with them? One of the bills centers on the state's wine farmers and cider makers who have been cut out of a very lucrative part of their business. It's a small business, too. It's very important to their sustainability. Many years in the making, the wine shipping bill passed New Year's Eve that allowed Bay State residents to buy out-of-state wines. But what lawmakers say is an unintended consequence. Massachusetts wine farmers and cider makers are no longer allowed to self-distribute. South Hadley State Rep John Skyback got to work rewriting the bill. Now it sits on the governor's desk for final approval. Currently, there are somewhere between 45 and 55 wine farmers and cider makers scattered across the state, still waiting to hear final resolution on that bill. Elsewhere, trouble at the airport. A former JetBlue ground worker gets 2 years in prison for his role in a scheme to smuggle $400,000 through Logan Airport. Rupert Crossley of Lynn pleaded guilty in October to conspiracy. A co-defendant, Anthony Trotman of Boston, pleaded guilty to similar charges. He'll be sentenced later this month. Now, they were among 5 airline employees arrested in a sting operation. Prosecutors say they used their security credentials to smuggle what they thought was drug trafficking money. And we've talked a lot lately about jury selection, and it's back in the news again today, only this time for a different trial. Jury selection gets underway Thursday in the murder trial of former Patriots tight end Aaron Hernandez, accused of killing the boyfriend of his fiance's sister, Odin Lloyd. Now, we'll likely know a lot more about the details of the trial shortly after a jury actually is seated. Now, prosecutors say Aaron Hernandez, Ernest Wallace, and Carlos Ortiz picked up Odin Lloyd and drove him to North Attleboro, where he was murdered. Now, Middlesex DA Jerry Leone, now a private attorney, says at one point the prosecution was pressing to charge Hernandez as the trigger man, but since then they've backed off of those claims. They're not sure. There are also questions about putting a lot of stock in statements by Wallace and Ortiz. They can't seem to get a consensus there. So in regards to the jury, whoever does make the panel, they're going to take several field trips around town. They're going to view the areas where the murder took place And instead of just viewing pictures in the courtroom, the jury will actually board a bus and see the locations in person. They're also going to get a guided tour of Aaron Hernandez's home, and the judge said yes, they'll even get to see his trophy case.